Hello everyone, today I'm with Aru Master Jeffrey Pai from Canada, and together we have prepared a few advices for you that will help you in your Aru journey. Let's start with something simple. Jeffrey, what can you tell us about the Qianjin and why is it so important to set it up properly?
So the Qianjin refers to the string that we use to tie the erhu strings towards the erhu neck, essentially creating a bridge. So this sets our starting pitches for the instrument, kind of like a capo for a guitar. Now, the height of the Qianjin is entirely dependent on the length of the player's limbs, so we can use the elbow method to find out where our Qianjin needs to be. Simply place your elbow onto the sound box, and as long as the top of the Qianjin is in line with this line on your pinky, then you know that the Qianjin is set up properly. Now, let's say my Qianjin is set up over here right now, and if a 6-year-old child were to come over and try to play the instrument, well, it's going to be a lot harder for them to play when the Qianjin is up over here simply because they have shorter arms, shorter fingers. It's going to cause their hand shape to become compromised. They're probably going to have to stretch a lot. It's not going to feel comfortable. So that's why we always want to refer to our elbow method in order to find out where the Qianjin needs to be in order to play with not only comfort, but with also pitch accuracy.
Another important part of your setup is your bridge and the piece of cloth that goes under it. Your bridge has to be perfectly in the center of the snake skin for your Aru to sound best. I had cases where my bridge was not even a millimeter off center and the sound would already break, and it was very difficult to play. The type of bridges you use is also very important. You got bridges that are made of a wood that is harder or softer, or you got bridges that have different shape, some are more round, some are oval shaped. It changes your sound a lot, both if the sound is more hard or soft, but also the responsiveness of the instrument feels when you play. The same go with the piece of cloth. Like if you put like a lot of cloth, you will have a darker sound. If you put less cloth, it will be brighter. So the bridge and cloth, very important. Don't make the mistake of just put a random bridge on your Aru and call it a day. It's like you need to explore different combinations to find what works best for each Aru.
So a lot of times when we're learning a new instrument, we're super eager to learn the piece of music or to learn what is written on the page. And for the erhu, the notes are entirely dependent on our left hand. But what creates sound is entirely dependent on our right hand. So oftentimes when we're too fixated on a new piece of music, we want to figure out those notes. It can cause us to bow hesitantly because we don't want to make that mistake. And as a result, it can cause us to develop some poor bowing habits. So when you get a new piece of music, what I would recommend is figure out what notes are on the outer string, what notes are on the inner string, figuring out the bowing pattern first, and then worrying about the left hand. That way you can ensure that you're exploring the piece of music with a good sound.
I would also recommend not to be too shy with your bowing, especially at first. I know that when we are beginning, it doesn't sound great, so we tend to bow very quietly, but you will progress much faster if you bow with confidence, if you allow yourself to make mistakes,
All right, let's talk about the left hand. So as long as you're changing a setup properly using this elbow method, you can use this 3-step method that I've invented to find the proper hand shape and the finger placements for playing in the key of D. Step 1, arm out. Step 2, we're going to bring it across and we're going to place the erhu neck into this gap right over here. So right behind the index finger's big knuckle. We don't want it in front, but we want it behind. One thing to watch out for is to ensure that you're not clasping hard with your thumb. We're actually never holding onto the erhu neck. We're always allowing it to simply rest there. So resting over here behind the knuckle, and step 3, relaxing our shoulder. And then our fingers are now pointed towards 1 o'clock. So from here, we're just going to drop our fingers down one by one. First finger, second finger, and third finger. And as long as you use this method, you should be able to play the key of D.
Playing songs, even if you are just beginning, it's a great way of staying motivated. It gives you something to practice for. It helps you extend your practice session because after the practice you will tend to play more, obviously. It also gives you this sort of a checkpoint, this sort of a song that you come back to years after years to monitor your progress. For me, that song was Lovers from House of the Flying Daggers. It's my main song, my go-to song to monitor my progression over the years. I still use it today. We have made available a lot of backing tracks and sheet music on our community. It's 100% free, so don't hesitate if you need new songs to learn. It's all available there.
So I've been playing the erhu for about 23 years now, and along my journey there were definitely moments where I felt less motivated to practice, simply because I wasn't too happy with the sounds I was creating. I always stayed in the same room practicing, playing the same notes over and over again, and I felt like I plateaued. I felt like I couldn't improve this quality of my sound anymore. So what really changed things for me was simply taking my instrument out to different settings to practice. I took my instrument to the bathroom or to the stairwell, and that's when I heard of the reverb effect for the first time. And that reintroduced me to the beauty of this instrument and what sort of sounds that it can actually create.
Another thing you can do is you find yourself an ambient backing tracks. It can be musical or pure ambient sound like rain or nature, or it can be both, and you improvise over it. If you start with an erhu that is too cheap, the instrument will not behave like it should. What I mean by that is that, for example, the sound will break too fast when you put pressure, or the opposite. You will have to bow very hard to get a clean sound, but like it makes the learning almost impossible because even when you are doing the right thing, the sound is terrible. So it's why I always advise to skip the 100, 200 euros range and try, if possible, to invest at least 300 euros in a first erhu. It's a mistake that I did. I bought a very cheap Erhu, and you know, the first contact with the instrument it can be quite discouraging, you know. So my personal favorite Erhu that I would recommend is this one from Eastern Music. For me, it's a bit pricier for an entry-level Erhu, but it is a proper Erhu that will, you know, behave like it should. I don't know if it's the right word, but you know what I mean.
To add on to that, when you're buying first erhu, also ensure that you're getting a nice quality bow. Sometimes for poor quality bows, you might find that the bow hairs are a little bit puffier than usual. And so when you're playing the outer string, you might accidentally play the inner string as well. So normally you want a nice flat bow like this.
And my last advice for today will be take a teacher. Most of you know that I've learned the Erhu mostly by myself, but it wasn't really a choice. It was just that I could not find a good teacher for many years. But I recently started working with Jeffrey. And when it comes to, you know, a complex instrument like the Erhu, having somebody much more experienced help you figure it out, it's just a game changer, obviously. So even if you don't have to take one lesson every week, you know, but just having this sort of, you know, session with a master like Jeffrey once every 1 month, once every 2 months to correct your mistakes, it will be very good for your learning.
Yes, and a lot of the things that I've been helping Elliot with is actually all covered in my Erhu Fundamentals Mastery course, which is a self-paced Erhu course fully taught in English that will take your playing from a beginner level all the way to an intermediate level by the end of the course. You'll find over 5 hours of lecture footage, tons of play-along videos, tons of sheet music, and you'll also get to join my weekly live streams where I'll be able to answer any Erhu-related questions that you may have. It's kind of like having a free weekly lesson. So if you're interested in something like that, head over to my website at jpaistudio.com.